Hi, this is Jim Huling, and it's a real honor today to welcome you back to this episode of the Execution Insights podcast. Now, today's episode is about deep work and is subtitled, Go Where the Deep Water Is. And in just a moment, I'll tell you why I've led with that quote. Because I believe that depth, not speed, is the new leadership advantage. Here's how I see it. You know, there are days when you collapse into your chair at the end of the day and you realize something that's kind of deeply unsettling. You were busy all day. You were needed every minute all day. You were doing exactly what leadership asked of you. And yet when the noise finally stopped, you collapsed back into that chair the way I've done this afternoon, you can't point to a single moment that felt meaningful. Now, this isn't because nothing happened, because things happened all day long. It's because nothing went deep. You see, most leaders that I coach, they know this feeling well. And frankly, it's becoming more and more common because leadership today is louder than it's ever been before. You know, we stack meetings back to back. Messages never stop coming. Decisions always have to be made, and everything feels urgent. And somehow, without really even noticing it, something terrible happens. The pace that once made us effective starts to overwhelm us. It starts to distance us from that part of ourselves that, gosh, that used to feel grounded and present and clear. And even if we tell ourselves that this is the cost of leadership, that this is what success requires, for many leaders, they never get past this. Now, we can blame all the distractions. We can look for better systems and software and tools and habits and methodologies, of course. But I've come to believe there's a deeper truth. I believe distraction is not the problem. The problem is that we have traded depth for speed. You know, deep work is never just something you schedule. It's something you come back to. And I know this personally, not just as an idea, but because there was a season in my own leadership when, everything looked right from the outside. I mean, I was capable in the role and the results were strong, and even the external recognition and awards were all very visible. But inside, I felt like I was skimming the surface of my own life. And in fact, the more I tried to give, the less fulfilled I actually felt in return. And one day, after a particularly demanding day, I closed my laptop and just sat there in my office. Everyone else had gone home long ago. And this is not one of those stories where there's a breaking point or a big dramatic moment. It's more a realization of something that I couldn't ignore any longer. It wasn't just that I was burned out or discouraged. It was that I had become disconnected from the part of me that once felt most alive. You see, I realized in that moment, sitting there in my office, that I'd been living in the shallows, still producing and still leading for sure, but no longer going deep. And in that moment, I came to a real crossroads, both personally and professionally, and it wasn't external, it was internal, because I saw clearly that I was able to move fast, or I was able to go deep, and that it was depth that always gave my leadership meaning. Now, years earlier, I had read some words from Pope John Paul II, and in that very moment, those words somehow came rushing right back to me just when I needed them. He said, "Do not be afraid. Do not be satisfied with mediocrity. Put out into the deep water and let down your nets. You will find what you seek." What a powerful quote that is. And I want you to know that the deep water is not just a place of risk. It's a place of discovery. And most leaders, frankly, never go there, or very seldom. They stay in the shallows because the shallows feel safe, because the shallows are where everyone else is, There's movement and there's noise and there's other people around. But I want to tell you a great truth. Nothing alive grows in the shallows, because living in the shallows exacts a terrible cost, not just to results, but to trust. Because when leaders stay shallow, all of their decisions and conversations stay shallow. It's when, you know, how meetings can replace connection, or certainty can replace curiosity, or even worse, people feel managed but never seen. And over time, leaders ultimately lose touch with themselves. Now, they can be highly productive, don't get me wrong. They're just not grounded. In fact, they can be highly successful, but they're not truly centered. And that's why deep work matters. It's not a management technique, it's a way of being, because depth changes how you listen. Depth changes how you show up in the moments that actually matter the most. And as an executive coach, I have seen this again and again and again. Because when a leader slows down in a conversation and starts to listen fully, or when a leader pauses in a difficult moment before responding, or when they choose connection rather than performance, all the tension drains out of the room. And what comes back is clarity. Not just because we said the right words, but because the leader was truly there. So let me leave you with one question to carry into the week that's ahead. I think it's a good one. Where have you been moving fast when what you really needed was depth? And if you resonate with that question, then watch for a moment during the week when you would normally skim the surface. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a quiet moment between tasks, maybe it's that final moment before you close up your day. But instead of going, stop, listen, be fully present. Because depth is not something you find just at the end of your day. It's something you actually choose all throughout it. And when you return to the deeper water, to the things that matter most, to the people that you care about, to the meaning behind the performance, and to the ability to acknowledge a person's value separately from their professional performance, you will find what you have been missing. And the best news of all, you will find yourself again. I'm Jim Huling, and this is Execution Insights, the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. And by the way, if you have, please forward it to someone else who might be needing just this very message today in their own leadership journey. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week for the next episode. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.